And welcome to In Session. Good afternoon. I'm Jean Casares in for Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us. Hustler magazine is offering Casey Anthony $500,000 to pose nude. Hustler's founder, Larry Flynt, says he is trying to give his readers what they want. You see, I filled in for Nancy Grace last night on HLN. I found out I was going to have an exclusive interview with Larry Flynt. Well, he told me a lot, and we're going to bring a lot of that to you today. He said that the $500,000, that's just the beginning.
And the offer that we made to Casey through our attorney, the $500,000 payment's only part of it. We're willing to pay 10% of the profit. So if this thing goes viral, and it could be as big as everybody thinks it was because of how big the trial is, she could make millions.
All right, let's bring in session contributor and trial attorney Casey Jordan. You know, Casey, when I started out this interview, I asked him, because our sources had told us that it was Casey's people, allegedly, that had approached him. I asked him if he would confirm that. He said he would not. But he sort of hummed and hawed. He didn't deny it, but he did confirm to me that there had been meetings or a meeting with Casey Anthony's people, even mentioned her lawyer at one point. Jose Baez this morning has no comment. We have reached out to him, but Casey Jordan, this is a very firm offer, and he believes that Casey Anthony can make millions from this.
And you really have to wonder whether she is considering it. You know, we talked a lot when the verdict came in and she was about to be released from jail about the idea that there had been $1 million offers, exactly $1 million. And we kind of went through the whole analysis of what that would mean if all of these anticipated judgments come out against her. $1 million will just about cover what she anticipates having to pay out, and that's conservatively. Remember, the IRS will probably take almost 50% of that, and then again, there would be $500,000 that the county is going to go after her about for the false search based on her failure to tell them that she knew Kaylee had drowned. So then you have to anticipate all the other judgments, perhaps Zenaida Gonzalez, perhaps EquiSearch, perhaps the scuba diver. There are plenty of people waiting in line to be paid. So $1 million is perhaps chicken feed to Casey Anthony. And if what Larry Flynt is saying, that she could potentially make millions so that she could pay off these judgments that are probably coming down the pike and still end up a millionaire herself, I'd love to think Casey would turn it down, but I also know that what she's been through, she probably feels like she's owed something. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if she actually took him up on it.
With the business aspect of this, solely looking at the business aspect, the offer is $500,000 plus 10% of the profits. So she would have to believe that that magazine's going to sell. So we don't know where the issue is. We don't know if they're seriously looking at it. But from what he told me, it looks like they might be, at least in talks. Now, I also asked him about the verdict. He told me he watched the trial of Casey Anthony, as we all did together. He says that regardless of how you feel about Casey Anthony, the U.S. legal system, it's got to be upheld.
I can understand why everybody is upset about that verdict. But we don't have justice in America. We have a shot at justice, and sometimes you get it and sometimes you don't. And I spent more money in the courtroom probably than any individual other than a lawyer. And I know I don't try to second guess these juries. And we can't trash our legal system and try to dismantle it or set it aside just because we're not happy with one particular verdict. You know, people need to get a life and move on.
And along with Larry Flynt, I also spoke to George and Cindy Anthony's attorney, Mark Lippman. And I asked Mark Lippman if there legally was the possibility of George and Cindy Anthony, that are now getting back to their life, of them filing a wrongful death suit against their own daughter, Casey.
There's been lots of speculation about that, and it's at this point there's been no discussion about it. I don't know that they want to keep opening up those fresh wounds that this last trial just did for them, but it's something that hasn't been discussed yet because this trial is still pretty fresh and things need to settle down a little bit.
Casey Jordan, what are your thoughts on that? Because first of all, we don't have a father of Kaylee in the picture, at least yet. There are some people out there that are saying, I am the father. They definitely would have that standing for wrongful death. Do you think that there could be an argument at all that the grandparents don't have the standing as a parent does for that wrongful death suit?
Well, again, we see the next of kin argument going on in Florida, and it's a very fluid concept. I think that they would have standing, but I don't think that they would do that to their daughter. I think that they are trying to find a higher order, a higher plane of thought, if you would, that Casey doesn't want to have anything to do with them, and yet they will not reject her. They can love their daughter without loving what she's done or approving of her life. And I really don't think they feel compelled to teach her any lessons. I think that they are satisfied that with the verdict and the fact that she's no longer in peril for her life. And I don't think, even though they believe that she had something to do with Kaylee's demise, with her death, and they don't at all buy into the defense theory of what happened, I truly don't believe the Anthonys want to give Casey any more reason to not turn out okay. I think they would like to see her get better and maybe come back to them. So filing a wrongful death suit, even though they may have standing, I don't think we'll ever find out, because I don't think they'll ever pursue it. I think they want to move on with their lives and just try to get some form of healing back.
You know, Mark Lippman also told me that they're really focused on their foundation, and they want to devote their time and their lives and their resources to helping missing children, other people in similar circumstances, so you can see where their energy is going to be directed. But yet, Mark Lippman did not close the door last night on a wrongful death suit, and that was what was interesting about his answer. You know, there's been a lot of speculation about where Casey will go next. Well, one of the most popular theories is that she'll leave the country. Let's bring in international criminal defense attorney Meg Strickler and find out why getting out of the U.S. may be, if you're with Casey's state of mind, the best bet. Meg, thank you so much for joining us.
Sure. I think that she's going to leave the country for a multitude of reasons, not to avoid tax liability or judgments just yet. I think right now she's leaving the country just to get the heck out of Dodge, wait a little bit, up the ante a little bit for some of these hustler-type magazine offers. Right now she's being offered $500,000. There's going to be other offers, I would guess. So she can maybe, if she keeps staying underground for a long time, maybe another couple of weeks, she's going to get some really lucrative offers, and then she's going to cash in, and she can stay in this country and cash in and leave the money elsewhere so that she can have lots of money for a long, long time.
You know, Meg, one thing we were able to confirm is that she didn't have a passport when she left jail as a free woman. So obviously, if that is the thought for her to do that, there's got to be some time to get that passport. But Meg, I want you to listen to this. Larry Flynt is a businessman through and through. And last night he mentioned the possibility of Casey leaving the country. Here's part of my interview with him. Listen to this closely. It is very interesting from last night.
You guys are always bringing up about the cost that the state's going to come after her and everybody that's going to file civil suits and all this stuff. That's meaningless unless they have a judgment in their hand. And their attorneys are smart enough to know that they can go offshore and film these interviews or do these photo shoots or whatever it is they're going to have to do. And that changes the whole dimensions of where the money is or how the money can be gotten. So anybody who's filing a suit, a civil suit, they're wasting their time, and the state is wasting their time. They're not going to be able to keep her from getting the money.
Meg, what do you think about that? Because what Larry Flynt is basically saying is that the civil suit judgments will not be able to follow the money. The money will be long gone.
Well, he said two very interesting things and very correct things. She can go and earn the income elsewhere. In other words, do the interview in a country that can hide the assets. What I mean by that is if she earns the income elsewhere, then it may not be as taxable here. Secondly, if she had the interview here in the United States, she can then put the money offshore in various accounts that can be, I want to be clear here, it's not illegal. If you have the most smart lawyers out there, which I am one of them and I know how to do this, you can put money offshore and create it as a corporation it's a tax haven country. It happens all the time. Can you say UBS and Switzerland and Liechtenstein and Seychelles and Panama and Cayman Islands? I mean, I could go on. There are many, many, many countries, as much as 40 countries that offer tax havens for the very rich people here in the United States. Those of you who do it know about it. It is legal if you do it correctly. The key thing is, does Miss Anthony have the correct people behind her who know how to do it correctly so that the IRS does not come after her? I'm willing to bet that she may get some wrong advice, because you have to cross your T's and dot your I's properly, and that's debatable if she's going to be doing that, because the IRS is going to keep a very, very, very close eye on her, and she's going to have to watch it.
So how can it become illegal? Because we hear about these things, but there is an umbrella under it that people are doing it illegally.
Absolutely.
What do people
What
do
you
wrong?
do, you can do wrong. Again, it's, to be basic, not get too legal here, it's crossing your T's and dotting your I's properly. And what I mean by that is the United States is getting a little, what should I say, a little pissy here of late because of our debt ceiling and all the stuff that's going on. The IRS is now going after countries that are notoriously silent about privacy and whatnot. Switzerland and the UBS lawsuit, all those things, to get Switzerland to tell the United States who are these bank account holders. Those things are occurring right now in the news, and so guess what? Singapore is now opening up their doors, so to speak, to these privacy things. And when you have a stable economy somewhere else, you can open up an account over there and then avoid some of the taxation here, because you are a corporation, not an individual. And if you don't do everything correctly, you've seen the tax code. Back in 1920, it was small. Now it's, woo, huge. There's ways you can mess up very easily. Look at that tax code. My gosh, it's very easy to mess up. And that's where Casey Anthony has to be sure she has proper help in doing what she needs to do if she wishes to evade. Now, one last thing I wanted to point out. Forget all of that. If she makes the proper decisions, she could play everybody properly and still have plenty of money to go around. She probably won't go that route, looking at her prior history.
That's a very interesting point. All right, Meg Strickler, international law attorney, thank you so much for joining us. Police want Casey Anthony to pay back more than $80,000.